The year 2025 was supposed to be one of progress, of technological marvels and scientific breakthroughs. But beneath the glossy surface of innovation, something darker stirred. Whispers spread across forums, hushed confessions in the dead of night, security footage that shouldn't exist. These are the stories that slipped through the cracks, the ones they tried to bury. It started with a single tweet, a grainy photo of a man standing at the far end of a near-empty subway car, his face stretched into a grin too wide for human anatomy. The caption read, *, he hasn't blinked in 20 minutes. The post was deleted within the hour, but not before it spread. Others came forward with similar encounters, always late at night, always on the last train. Witnesses described him as wrong, his limbs just a little too long, his teeth just a little too sharp. Some said he whispered to them in a language that didn't exist, syllables that made their ears bleed. The final sighting was on the Red Line in Chicago. Security footage showed a lone passenger boarding at 2:17 a.m. The cameras cut out for exactly 60 seconds. When they came back online, the train was empty except for a single pair of shoes, neatly placed in the center of the car, filled with something wet and glistening. Parents in the small town of Hollow Creek, Oregon, began reporting the same nightmare. Children with ink-black eyes standing at the foot of their beds, whispering, *, let us in. At first, it was dismissed as sleep paralysis. Then the real sightings began. Kids playing in the woods came back different, emotionless, their eyes dark as voids. They spoke in unison, recited events before they happened, knew things they shouldn't. The town pediatrician documented their vitals, no pupil dilation, no reaction to light. Their retinas, when examined, showed no reflection, just an endless, depthless black. The final entry in the doctor's journal read, *, they don't have heartbeats anymore. By spring, every child under 12 in Hollow Creek was gone. The only trace was a single handprint on each bedroom window, small, cold, and impossibly old. At 3:33 a.m. on August 12th, every television, phone, and monitor in a 6-state radius tuned itself to a dead channel. Then the screaming started, not from the speakers, from inside the devices. Viewers described a face pressing against the screen, a human shape writhing in static, fingers clawing at the glass from the other side. Some swore they saw their own reflections reach back. Emergency lines were flooded with calls from people whose electronics wouldn't turn off, even when unplugged. The signal lasted exactly 13 minutes before cutting to a single phrase, repeated in a voice that wasn't human. *, we see you now. The FCC claimed it was a hacking incident. Then why did the engineers who investigated the transmission towers vanish? And why were their uniforms found neatly folded at the base of the antennas, soaked in a thick, syrupy substance that smelled like burnt copper? A real estate listing appeared online for a Victorian home in upstate New York. $1. The description simply read, *, come inside, stay forever. The first family moved in on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, their neighbors noticed something odd. The family hadn't left the house, yet their cars were gone. When police entered, they found the walls pulsating, breathing like living tissue. The family was there, but wrong, their faces stretched, limbs fused to the floorboards, mouths open in silent screams. The officers fled, but one turned back for a final look. The house's front door had changed. It was now a perfect mirror image of his own childhood home. His radio crackled with a voice that sounded just like his mother's asterisk. You've been gone so long. Don't you want to come inside? The house was demolished a week later. The demolition team reported hearing laughter from the rubble. A university in Germany recruited volunteers for a paid sleep experiment. The rules were simple. Stay awake for 72 hours, while researchers monitored brain activity. By the second night, subjects began reporting the same hallucination. Tall figure standing just outside, their peripheral vision, whispering numbers in reverse. Then the testers noticed something impossible. The subjects' brainwaves were identical, perfectly synchronized. Despite being in separate rooms, on the final night, the facility lost power. When backup generators kicked in, the subjects were gone. The only clue was a single line of text flashing on every monitor. Asterisk, they are awake now. So are we. A year later, one of the missing test subjects was found wandering a highway, emaciated and catatonic. His last words before dying were, asterisk, we never woke up. A group of teenagers in Seoul filmed themselves playing the infamous elevator game, a ritual said to transport players to another dimension. The video later leaked online, showed them pressing the buttons in sequence for 2, 6, 2, 10, then 5. The elevator descended past the ground floor. The lights flickered. When the doors opened, the hallway beyond was pitch black. A woman stood there, her face obscured by long, wet hair. She reached for them. The video cut to static. Search teams found the elevator abandoned, its walls scratched bloody. The teens were never seen again. But residents of the building still report hearing the elevator ding at 3 a.m. The doors opening to an empty shaft, a faint giggling echoing from the darkness below. In a small Texas town, a man named Daniel Carter walked into a diner and ordered coffee. The waitress froze. Daniel had died in a car crash 6 months prior. Security footage confirmed it was him, down to the scar on his left hand. When questioned, Daniel insisted he was dead, that he'd woken up in his coffin, clawed his way out, and walked home. He spoke of a place beyond death, a vast, lightless expanse, where something watched from the edges. Then he began deteriorating. His skin turned gray, his eyes clouded over. On the 7th day, he collapsed, whispering, asterisk, it's coming back for me. His body decomposed at an impossible rate, turning to dust in minutes. The coroner's report listed cause of death as asterisk, prolonged cessation of biological function. He had been dead for months. An art gallery in London acquired a 19th century portrait titled asterisk, the Watcher on the Walls. Visitors reported the subject's eyes followed them, his expression shifting when no one was looking. Then the night guard vanished. Reviewing the tapes, police saw him standing before the painting for hours, unmoving. At exactly 3 a.m., the figure in the portrait reached out, pulling him into the canvas. The next morning, the painting had changed the guard's face now among the twisted figures in the background, his mouth open in a soundless scream. The gallery closed immediately, but buyers of the painting's online reproductions began reporting the same phenomenon, faces in the image that weren't there before, whispers from their walls at night, and the creeping certainty that something was now watching from inside their homes. On a routine flight from New York to London, air traffic control received a frantic mayday call. The pilot's voice was barely human. Asterisk, there's something in the cabin. It's God. It's wearing their faces. Asterisk, then silence. Search teams found the plane intact, engines still running, every seat occupied. The passengers were all there, strapped in, eyes wide open. Their cause of death was listed as asterisk, instantaneous systemic shock. Autopsies revealed something impossible. Their organs had been rearranged. Hearts placed where lungs should be, stomachs inverted. The black box contained only 3 words, repeated in the pilot's voice until the recording cut out. Asterisk, it's in me. A Reddit user posted about a strange pit in their circular shaft, just wide enough to fit a person. Descending into darkness, they lowered a camera. The footage showed endless tunnels, walls lined with teeth. Then something moved in the dark. The user deleted the post, but replies kept coming from their own account. The final message was a set of coordinates leading to a forest in rural Poland. Explorers found a single house, its basement floor torn open. Below was a hole, and from the depths, a sound knocking. Whatever was down there was knocking back. In the winter of 2025, a box of unmarked VHS tapes was found in the basement of an abandoned psychiatric hospital in West Virginia. The footage inside should not exist. The first tape shows a dimly lit therapy session. A man in a straitjacket sits across from a doctor, his face blurred by static. The audio is muffled, but one phrase cuts through clearly. Asterisk, they told me to open the door, and I did. The doctor leans forward, asking, asterisk, what door? The patient's head snaps up, his eyes are gone. Just black voids, and he screams. The tape ends abruptly. The second tape is worse. A hallway surveillance feed. A nurse walks past the camera, then stops. She tilts her head, listening. From somewhere off-screen, a voice whispers her name. Not a voice, her voice, but wrong, like something mimicking her. She turns toward the sound, and the camera glitches. When the image stabilizes, she's gone. Only a dark, wet streak on the floor remains, leading to a supply closet. The tape's final frame shows the closet door slightly ajar, something pale and twitching pressing against the crack. The third tape is just data canned at the 13-minute mark. Then, a face emerges from the noise. Not human. Too many teeth, too many eyes. It speaks in a voice like radio interference. Asterisk, you're watching. Good, we've been waiting. The screen cuts to black. The fourth tape is blank, except if you play it at the lowest volume. Press your ear to the speaker, you can hear breathing. The fifth tape shows the hospital's main lobby empty. Then, one by one, the lights flicker out. The last working bulb illuminates. A figure standing in the center of the room. Tall, thin arms too long. It doesn't move. It doesn't need to. The tape's audio picks up a wet, clicking sound like bones rearranging. The figure's head jerks toward the camera. The screen explodes into static. The sixth tape is a single, continuous shot of a padded cell. At first, nothing happens. Then, slowly, words begin to appear on the walls, scratched into the paint by something unseen. Asterisk, they are in the wires. They are in the wires. They are in THE. Asterisk, the message cuts off mid-sentence. The camera angle shifts on its own, pointing at the ceiling. There's something up there. Something moving. The seventh tape is the last one. It starts with a warning, handwritten on a slip of paper held up to the camera. Asterisk, do not watch alone. Then, footage of a patient strapped to a bed, convulsing. His mouth stretches too wide, and a voice that isn't his rasps out. Asterisk, we're coming through. The bed shakes violently. The restraints snap. The patient's body folds in ways that shouldn't be possible. Bones cracking like dry twigs. Then, the camera zooms in on his face. His lips part. A single word. Asterisk, soon. The tapes were handed over to authorities. The hospital was demolished. But 2 weeks later, a security guard at the landfill where the rubble was dumped reported seeing something moving in the debris.